And it's just like people just want to disagree with each other. People don't want to support each other. It's bizarre. I don't get where this collective kind of psychology of everyone's like, now we're all against each other.
I know. We just had Simon Ho sitting in your seat half an hour ago, evolutionary biologist. I think it was when you ducked out to the toilet after the show. He said, we talked about how this is on YouTube now, whatever, and we've just started YouTube, but he goes, how is it with the comments? Like, what? Because
he was hating it.
Yeah, no, because he was like, I don't know some of those questions, like I wasn't sure with my answers, and whatever. Do you get like heaps of hate in the comments and heaps of, and I was like, no, bro, it's all good. Like we're minimal fucking, like, but you look at Joe Rogan, for example. Joe Rogan has someone on and then there's 1,000 comments going, that guy's a fucking cocksucker. Yeah. That's bullshit. What a fuckhead. Like, and Simon, like he's sitting here in your shoes and he left the show. He's like nervous about getting hate and vitriol for his theories on evolutionary biology. You know what I mean? Like that's the point. Yeah. That's the point that it's at.
And that's, it's terrible. Like, I mean, by and large, I'm very lucky. Like, the biggest social channel that I use is my Instagram, and for the most part, it's a pretty supportive place. Like, the comment, I don't typically get very many hateful comments and stuff like that. It's different when I post to Facebook. I have a fraction of the followers on Facebook that I do on Instagram, but it's almost guaranteed, like particularly if I post something that gets a little bit of traction, that there will be a shit ton more negative comments there. And I've just started to dip the toes into YouTube as well, and I've heard it's the same, that YouTube's like the people just go to YouTube to just fucking vent their rage against the world.
Feel better about themselves.
Yeah, because it's not necessarily linked to their like personal accounts and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, this is where I think though that like it's important to have that self-awareness we were talking about though, because it's like if you I feel for me at the most part where I'm in my life, I feel like there's a lot of things wrong with me, but I feel like I'm a pretty self-aware dude. So if I say something like, even just something like dropping the C-bomb on the show, or if I say something that's stupid or in poor taste, I can back it up by just me genuinely being an idiot. But like the one thing that I've been conflicting about having the MindMate, like the mental health thing as well, is that like, I wonder if I would be, because I try to be as authentic as I can be, as we all do. But I just wondered sometimes, like, will that more or less like trigger someone that I could be helping in the future, or like would it like cause some sort of controversy?
I think, and this is to your point before, like you're talking about how people hide from their faults and their failures and whatever, and it's kind of what you're talking about, like. But it's funny, we always think, like you're a little bit worried about that, to your point that you just made, and people hide all that shit from their social media because they want to have this perfect life. But it's actually counterintuitive because they're the people that you gravitate towards. Yeah. You gravitate towards people that are real, and you can see through that shit. Yeah. But it's just not the by and large. It's everyone is, let's get this photo fucking perfect, all positivity. When you see someone with like a mad following like yourself, I've seen... you talk about mental health and a shit day and this and that, training's gone bad, whatever. That's a real person, but you're like part of the minor of the minority, and everyone's got that all positive outlook, but people actually gravitate towards real, people they can connect with.
The way that I look at it as well is like when we're talking about that motivational speakers, like, it's fluff. Like the masses will still be drawn to something that motivates them even on a superficial level. So if someone's there going, positive this, positive that, and I see it all the time. There's people I know that I'm like, fuck, man, like you are not in a good headspace. You are not in a good way right now. And you're there posting like, fuck yeah, just feeling so empowered and positive. I'm like, don't do that. Like, one, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're putting yourself further in the rabbit hole by basically trying to perpetuate, it's that thing. They're trying to live up to that idealistic image that everyone needs to have that positive outlook. At the same time, they're too afraid of that vulnerability and showing that they're maybe failing to reach that. And it's a vicious cycle, because as they start to push more and more that they're in a positive headspace or that they're doing great things, they start to slip further and further down into that kind of depressed state where they're like, fuck, I'm getting further and further away from this idealistic image that I'm putting up. But people will still gravitate to that to an extent. But I think it's just like that, like the masses with motivational speaking, stuff like that. You can kind of see through it. You can kind of pick out now, this is something with a bit of substance, which actually has this is what you've got to do. Don't just tell me, you've got to be empowered and you're amazing and you've got the power to change the world, because it's fucking bullshit on a superficial level. I can't just walk out of this door now and change the world. There's going to have to be steps that go into place to get there. And so... I think that's where the people on social media and stuff that do actually do a good job with it are the ones that are genuinely authentic. And, you follow people on social media because you expect to know, well, this is the way I see it, right? And this comes from when I was studying communications, learning like social media was just starting to be a thing. And one of the biggest things that everyone was saying at that point in time that it was kind of talking about how it was going to take off was like, if you want to build a brand through social media, you've got to be authentic and it's got to be really you, because otherwise, like, people will just see through it. And it's funny, like, because I think I've gone sort of full circle with it all now, where I can sit back and go, I'm now being authentically me. But I definitely went from, I guess, through phases. And this is where, like, I think that I've come back to this fascination with identity, where I was kind of trying to figure out if I could conjure up my own identity through social media, as that was the place that I had the vastest sort of amount of feedback instantly available to me. And then, like, I dabbled around in all sorts of different things. And I think finding an identity and finding a sense of self that I was okay and comfortable with has been such a journey for me that's now where my fascination lies. And being able to identify the dangers that exist for young people now trying to come up with solid identities themselves and seeing it firsthand in like friends of friends, people like friends, family and stuff like that, it's just so hard nowadays for young people to find that identity. And when you have so much fucking shit out there,
100%.
so many just people that probably aren't even shit people, that are probably just decent, normal people in day-to-day life, but just for whatever reason, they get on the internet and just feel the need to tear other people apart. Like, man, I don't know. It's bizarre. Yeah. Like, I just think that we're facing an identity crisis, like a global identity crisis. And unless someone fucking... Well, not someone, but unless like there's a way that something's got to change.
Discovery Roger, go for deploy.